Hey everyone, welcome back to Podcasting 101 video number 3, the whats. So after going through the exercise of those 4 questions and figuring out your why, it's time to choose your topic. You can be broad topicked or you can be super niche. And I like figuring out what kind of niche you fit into. So really go through iTunes and take a look at the general topic that you want to talk about and see who's talking about that. Chances are someone is talking about this or has talked about this and has abandoned that niche. So figure out what makes you different, what makes you unique, and what unique take or angle you personally bring to the table. Now, for the types of shows, there are 2 I'm going to cover on here. I cover a lot more in Podcasting 201 and in my consulting. But there are interviews and there are audio blog conversations. So interviews are fantastic for SEO. I was in a business conference in Northern California, and when I mentioned I did the show Eternal Leadership, I can't tell you the number of people that said, "Oh, I listened to you because you featured multiple interviews with the keynote speaker." Yeah. And so the ability for people to look for the guests that they're interested in with that Apple Podcast app or in Stitcher or in Google Play Music is huge, and you will find new audience members through those interviews. I recommend everyone do interviews. The clients that don't, I really believe that they are missing out, and I encourage them to start getting into interviews. It also gives your audience a sense of authority and credibility for you. It gives you the sense of authority and credibility with your audience. For audio blog conversations, it gives the audience a chance to really kind of get to know you, because you're often talking about things that you necessarily won't cover in those interviews. And if you're doing it solo and audio blog, I recommend keeping it short. Duo, keep it on point. I can't, if it's a conversation, keep it on point. I can't tell you the number of podcasts that I've turned off because the topic looked interesting or the guest they were eventually going to get to looked interesting, but for the first 15 minutes, it was just a conversation about their weekend. I'm a busy dude. I don't have time for that kind of junk. And so keep it on point. If it's just going to be a conversation about how your weekend went, make that a whole separate episode. Don't bog someone down with, especially someone who doesn't necessarily have a relationship with you, with just banter, mindless banter that really doesn't go anywhere. So the frequency of those shows, you could do weekly or twice a week. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Start slow, build it up from there. I do know of podcasts that go 5 days a week or 7 days a week or 3 days a week, or they kind of fluctuate between the number that they do. It's more than 2 a week. I personally rarely listen to a podcast more than twice a week. And so examples, Bulletproof Radio is one of my favorites. And Dave does twice a week, and even twice a week I don't listen to every single one. You could look at doing a season. I've got a client that right around the beginning of the year was looking at doing a short 12 episode season before the summer, and then looking at doing another probably 20 episode season after Labor Day. You could do, and then for the next year, they were going to start to probably go to 20 episode seasons that are before summer and after summer. Or you could just do a one-off single batch. This is something that very few podcasts I have seen have ever done. I have a client who's a documentary filmmaker, and we're going to be sitting down in the next couple months. And this is one of the things that we're going to be looking at is a single batch to talk about the documentaries that his company is producing, where they'll talk to the guests, they'll talk to the producers, they'll talk to the director, they'll talk to the editors, and really kind of give a single one batch taste of what that of what that documentary is going to bring. And once they're done with that single batch, they're not going to come back and retouch that unless they ever do a sequel, in which case then they'll do another batch about it. The next film. So the ideal show length for those types that I just mentioned, for interviews, anywhere from 30 to 75 minutes for a good interview to really kind of get to the meat of who someone is and what they're talking about. I really believe it takes a minimum of 30 minutes. Having worked in internationally syndicated radio for 20 plus years, the good interviewers will really take their time to kind of dig and pull. And so 30 to 75 minutes, it could be longer if it's a really good conversation, but that's really kind of the target that I recommend people look at. Audio blogs, if it's just you talking, keep it short. If I realize that someone is just going to be monologuing for a good 30, 45 minutes, I rarely ever listen. And if you do, you need to learn to become a good storyteller. Conversations, it depends. It really depends. My gut says a max of around 20 minutes, but if it's a really good conversation between you and a co-host talking about a product or a service that you have, it could go longer. Just make sure you keep it on point. So that's it for this one. Coming up, final thoughts, but first, the hows. So see you tomorrow. Be awesome.